Hi, I'm Rebekah Modrak. I'm an artist and a professor in the Stamp School of Art and Design at the University of Michigan.
Hi, I'm Jamie Vander. I'm a librarian at the University of Michigan as well.
We just published a book called Radical Humility. It was 3 years in the making, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Jamie and I called Jamie up and I said, are you interested in humility? And my interest in humility came from some things I was starting to experience in the university culture. We would get invited to boaster meetings all of a sudden where you had 1 minute to tell how important you were. And I had witnessed a lot of people, both in my small world and on a national scale, making mistakes and not being able to apologize. And around that time, I took a trip out to Nebraska to interview farmers. And as I was interviewing them, they would say, you know what, you have to interview Ned. You have to interview Ned. And I would ask, like, why do I need to interview Ned? Like, what does he know about farming? Does he understand, crop rotations or pest control? And they said, no, he's really humble. And that really threw me. Humble wasn't a word I heard very often. And I started to think, like, wow, wouldn't it be great to hear the word humble more often?
So when Rebekah called me, I had not consciously been thinking that much about humility. So I was a little bit surprised, but then I realized that I really had been thinking about it. I was a new parent and my daughter had just started daycare. And at the time when she started daycare, they sent us all these forms. And one of them, we were supposed to describe basically the way that we wanted our little baby to be taken care of. So, what is her routine? What are her likes and dislikes? And she was 3 months old. And I felt like, well, she's a baby and there are going to be so many other babies. Like, shouldn't she just sort of go with whatever your routine or flow is? And I had started to think that, gosh, if 3 months old, they all each have to have these like individualized sort of care plans and setups. Like, what does that mean as a trajectory for a child as it grows into an adult? Like, each of these people just were always sort of emphasizing what makes them individual and unique and special. And, at what point do they start to sort of form a community or think about, their needs versus the needs of other little children and then adults? So I realized that I actually was thinking about humility quite a bit. I just hadn't really put my finger on it. So when Rebekah reached out, I was excited to work with her on this project.
Jamie and we reached out to a professor of philosophy and a professor of consumer culture who studies pride. And the four of us put our heads together and started to think about other people who might have something to say. So we reached out to a lawyer who had left private practice in order to join a hospital as its head legal representative. And his idea was, let's start apologizing for medical mistakes. And we wanted to hear what he had to say. We reached out to a woman who was a journalist for many years, and she counsels journalists now. And one of their main concerns is, we're supposed to be unobtrusive, and we're supposed to bring the story, put the story on other people, or make other people more visible. And instead, we're being told we should be social media presences. So how do we, there's this divide between sort of the humility of caring about other people and making them more important, and then us being these sort of like little celebrities. And we reached out to a farmer to talk about what it was like to have equipment constantly break and how she dealt with that. And essentially it sort of became like a guidebook to all of these different people and how they practice and how they think about humility in their lives and in their work.
And both of us have found that I think this book has changed our lives for sure. I think about the stories that are in the book often, and a couple of them really frame the way that I respond to situations, especially with close friends or with this sort of ongoing political division in the country. I think there's a lot that I have learned from spending so much time thinking about humility from so many different perspectives that is quite useful right now. Like some of the people in the book talk about how we can be better friends to each other, which is something that's useful to, every single person from a child to an adult. And I think adopting this sort of posture of, putting others before yourself, or even just attempting to view the world through someone else's lens, I think is incredibly important right now.